Have you ever tried to buy something off the internet and wondered if the seller ghosted you? Or put in a great offer only to find out that the item's already been sold? Building two-sided marketplaces is tough. On top of regular e-commerce challenges, marketplaces require unique notification patterns since they connect buyers and sellers who don't know each other, making trust and communication essential. Your role as the marketplace creator is to make these transactions as streamlined as possible and build this trust. In this video, I want to walk you through how Knock can help you build notifications for marketplaces. We'll explore this using a sample application called Globe Wander, built using Next.js, where tour operators can list their tours and adventurers can book them. We'll cover things like buyer-seller communication, inventory alerts, and scheduled email digests. Before we dive in, let's talk a little bit about the app we created here. I've already got my project set up locally, so if you want to follow along, you can get the link to the repo in the video description below and follow the instructions in the README. Next, let's look at our data model. The key entities are users, who can be either travelers or operators, tours, which contain basic information like a name, a difficulty level, and a climate. Tour dates represent specific trips with start dates and available seats, and tour bookings, which connect users to specific tour dates when they book seats on a tour. When a user signs up, we can see our first notification in action. Looking at the server action code, we create this user in our database. Then we trigger the new user sign-up workflow in Knock and create that user using inline identification. In the Knock dashboard, we can see that this workflow sends both an email and an in-app message to welcome the user. Now let's explore the booking flow. Coordinating messages for both buyers and sellers is an important part of what a marketplace does. But since each person's role in the transaction is different, their notifications probably should be too. When a traveler books a tour, watch what happens in the app. They receive an immediate confirmation notification. Behind the scenes, we're triggering a single workflow that handles both buyer and seller communication. We do this by triggering a workflow with both our traveler and our operator as recipients. We pass the details of the booking as a data payload for use in the workflow. We also pass a cancellation key so that if the traveler or operator cancels the booking or tour date, we can cancel any remaining steps in the notification flow. So let's look at this workflow in the Knock dashboard. The workflow branches based on the recipient's role. For travelers, we send an immediate confirmation to both in-app and email channels with their booking details. And when you look at the email template, you can see how we're using Liquid to format the dates and display the climate. Then, using a relative delay, we schedule a reminder for 24 hours before the tour starts. For operators, we handle things differently. Looking at the operator branch, you'll see we're using Knock's batch functionality. This groups bookings over a 2-hour window, so operators receive one consolidated email instead of individual notifications for each booking. In the email template, we can use Liquid to iterate over the batch activities and use a total activities variable to customize the subject line. Now let's explore inventory management, which is crucial for marketplaces. Imagine a traveler finds a perfect tour, like our Iceland Northern Lights experience, but the dates just don't work for them. Without a notification system, they'd have to keep checking back for new dates, but let's see how Knock can help solve this. As a traveler viewing the Iceland tour, you'll notice this Subscribe to Updates button. When I click this, Knock creates a subscription using its objects and subscription features. Looking in the Knock dashboard under Objects, if I open up the Iceland Northern Lights tour and head to the Subscriptions tab, we can see that user listed there as a subscriber. Each object in Knock is a flexible data structure that maps to your application's data model. And we basically created these objects when we seeded the database as a part of this example app. As a tour operator, I can add new tour dates when availability opens up. But in the server action code, we're not just creating the tour date in our database. We're also triggering a Knock workflow with the tour object as the recipient. So let's switch to the operators view and add a week-long tour in February. But here's where things get interesting. When we trigger a workflow for an object, Knock automatically handles notifying all of its subscribers. You can see that in this action as our subscribed traveler instantly receives both an in-app notification and an email about the new dates. Looking at this workflow in the Knock dashboard, you'll see it's quite simple, just 2 channel steps. But the notification template shows another powerful feature. We can reference the tour object directly in our template using these special liquid tags. This means we don't have to pass all of the tour details from our application because Knock already has them stored and associated with the object. All we need to do is pass a reference to that object in our payload. Finally, let's explore recurring notifications. Popular marketplaces help sellers market their goods or services to interested buyers. So let's look at how to facilitate this pattern with a weekly digest email. In the user settings menu, users can subscribe to get weekly updates on tours that are relevant to them. Looking at the code behind the scenes, we use Knock's SDK to create a scheduled workflow and pass in a repeat property that describes how often this scheduled workflow should execute. In the Knock dashboard, under Users and Schedules, we can see that scheduled workflow is attached to the user object. Now, the workflow itself includes a fetch step that makes a GET request to an endpoint in your application and can pass in data to get personalized recommendations and then send a time zone aware digest email using data pulled directly from your API that can be customized based on the user's interests. Two-sided marketplaces are tough apps to create and even harder to grow. Since they require both a healthy amount of buyers and sellers, your job as a developer is to help build trust between the parties and streamline transactions so that people keep coming back. In this video, we've talked about some of the key notification patterns for marketplaces and how Knock can help simplify them, like coordinating buyer and seller communication, managing subscriptions without building a pub subsystem, and creating recurring notifications without a bunch of cron jobs. If you want to learn more, clone the repository and try it yourself. All the code we've looked at is available in the demo linked in the video description, but thanks for watching and feel free to reach out with any questions. Knock on.